Hey everyone, and welcome back to What Did I Miss? Where today I'm going over some news I read recently about the new yet-to-be-released shows Strange New Worlds and Prodigy, as well as a very cool interview with Michael Dorn in which he goes over his pitch for a Captain Worf show. I want to thank you for joining me, and if you'd like to keep up with Star Trek news during this downtime, hit that like button and subscribe bell as I will be releasing new Star Trek videos every week. I put out one last week about the upcoming seasons of Discovery and Lower Decks. I will link it here if you want to check it out. Okay, so first I want to get into the interview with Michael Dorn, aka Worf, because it's pretty cool and I love hearing about actors who love their characters so much that they pitch stories for them. This is of course nothing new in Star Trek, as William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and Jonathan Frakes have all written and directed stories that included their own characters. The interview was with TrekMovie.com and was for a new movie that Michael Dorn has coming out, titled Agent Revelation, but of course the conversation went back to his iconic character Worf. It really is a good interview in which he also talks about character growth and his role on the show, but at one point the interviewer asks if he would ever reprise his role. He of course said that he would, and that he appreciated how Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis were able to voice their characters on Lower Decks, and they would be interested in doing the same. I really hope a lot of characters come back on Lower Decks, and in fact I'm thinking about doing a video on just which characters I would like to see on the animated series. But let me know in the comments, who would you love to see show up on Lower Decks, or the other animated series Prodigy that I'm going to talk about in a bit. Here's what Michael Dorn had to say about reprising his role as Worf on Lower Decks. Well, let me put it this way. I have not been contacted about that, but I don't like to say yes or no. It really depends on quite a few things. It depends on the role. It depends on how they want to present it. He went on to discuss how difficult the makeup was, especially in his early years on the show. I always wondered how actors like him and Armin Shimmerman on Deep Space Nine could speak with those massive teeth in their mouths, and if they had to dub their lines over after the fact. But apparently it took Michael Dorn up to 3 hours every day to wait for his makeup to be fully applied. Yeah, no wonder he'd rather appear on the animated series. When speaking about his pitch for a Worf-centric Star Trek spin-off, similar to that of Picard, Dorn pitched a story that would look at the Federation from the point of view of the Klingon Empire, which in the time since his last appearance in the movie Star Trek Nemesis should still be in some sort of turmoil. I did think that it was interesting that we did not see any Klingons in the third season of Discovery after they were a focal point of the first two seasons, so perhaps the Empire does not survive into the distant future. Dorn spoke about how the Klingon Empire, while vast, would be difficult to rule given their losses after the destruction of their source of dilithium, the moon Praxis, that was shown in the movie The Undiscovered Country, as well as their losses in the Dominion War, which was shown on Deep Space Nine, and included the Empire taking on at different times the Cardassians, the Federation, as well as the combined forces of the Dominion. Dorn theorized that the Klingon Empire would be at a crossroad in which they would have to decide if they wanted to stick to their way of life and die with a sword in their hand, or evolve into a race that includes other cultures into theirs. This would be very interesting to see, as this plotline was started in the Undiscovered Country, and then in a way applied to the Romulan Empire when their star went supernova and destroyed their homeworld, as shown in the 2009 Star Trek movie, and then expounded upon in the first season of the Star Trek Picard series. At the center of it all would be now Captain Worf, who's no longer a member of Starfleet, but rather serving in the Klingon Empire. His voice would be the driving one to convince the Klingon government to allow their culture to grow and survive. Also, the story would be as much a political thriller as a traditional Star Trek series, with assassination plots and coups d'etat as the foil. Dorn said the following about the script he wrote to pitch the idea. The thing is, Worf is a character that has no fear. We have seen that over the years. I think Star Trek has always liked that about the Klingons. What I wrote, it's claustrophobic, it's Shakespeare in its scope. He added that the Klingon Empire would also now have to deal with planets that they conquered and either let them go free or get them to cooperate with them, which would definitely be a different side of the Klingons that we have seen. The plot to me sounded pretty cool, and while I don't know if it is one that is strong enough to carry an entire series, I think that it would be a cool subplot to have during a season or two of Picard. Picard is a well-known figure in the Klingon government, so it makes perfect sense for him to be involved in this story. But let me know in the comments, what do you think of the story, and could you see it as its own show, or maybe as part of the show Picard? Next, I will go over a couple of bits of news about the two newest shows in the Star Trek sphere, Prodigy and Strange New Worlds. And speaking of Trek Sphere, I'm a sponsored contributor on the site, and if you love Star Trek, you really should check it out. We got some really cool creators on the team, like Jesse Gender and Rowan J. Coleman. First, the news about Prodigy comes from an interview with Captain Janeway herself, Kate Mulgrew. Apparently, even though production on the first season is not yet completed, it has already been renewed for a second season. Miss Mulgrew said the following about her experience on the show. I certainly enjoyed doing it, and I think we're going into the next season very soon. Miss Mulgrew went on to describe the show as a sophisticated style animated series with a feature film quality. While we do not know when the first season will be released, it is encouraging to hear that they have 2 seasons planned out. Star Trek Lower Decks received a similar series order before its first season was completed, and I think that really allows a show time to grow into itself before it is judged too harshly. Lower Decks in particular definitely had a stronger second half of their first season as a series, and also with COVID still a concern, animated series are the easiest to produce, since writers and voice actors do not need to leave their homes to finish their parts. Ms. Mulgrew also revealed that all voice acting had been completed in January of 2021, so I would expect Prodigy to be the next Star Trek series we see. Speaking of COVID, we can sleep a bit better knowing that both Kate Mulgrew and Captain Picard Patrick Stewart have received their COVID vaccines, as each posted on their Twitter account pages a picture as well as a message about the experience. Finally, we get our first look at Captain Pike and Spock as their characters on the show Strange New Worlds in the form of 2 promotional videos for Paramount Plus, which is a rebranding of CBS All Access. So don't worry, this is not another subscription that you're going to have to buy and keep track of. The move is meant to combine many of Viacom's properties into one entity, including MTV, BET, CMT, and Comedy Central. While Pike and Spock do not do or say much of anything in the 2 spots, the channel is reportedly releasing many more of these promos throughout a 13-week campaign, which will include showing new ads during the Super Bowl, the Grammy Awards, the Masters, and March Madness. Hopefully, these 2 will get more to do in the upcoming ads than just follow Dora the Explorer around. But really, how are you going to have Captain Pike take orders from Dora the Explorer? Is Q already involved in this series or something? You know Pike would be taking care of this group. There is not a ton more known about the series, but it is set to start filming in Ontario, Canada in February of 2021 until July of the same year, which is when Discovery also will be filming. I'm pretty sure at one point they stated that we would see Strange New Worlds in 2021, and with 2 cast members being a part of Paramount's advertising campaign, you would think that would still be true. Also, the writers confirmed that the tone of the show would be more like the earlier incarnations of Star Trek than Discovery or Picard, and that the crew members we met on Discovery would grow into their characters we know them too, especially Spock, who is said to be very inexperienced at this point in his career. Actor Ethan Peck went so far as to call Captain Pike and Number 1, played by Rebecca Romaine, as the parental figures for the crew. I assume that this will show the Enterprise going on a famed 5-year mission and meeting new cultures, but I wouldn't be surprised if we also saw many of the same races we saw in the 3rd season of Discovery, such as Andorians, Orions, and Tellarites, since they were also a part of the original series. Honestly, some of my favorite episodes of each series are when they dive deeper into characters or storylines that are rushed through in prior iterations, such as when the show Enterprise gave us a plausible reason for the Klingons to look so different from the original series on in the episode Affliction. In it revealed how both Dr. Phlox and Captain Archer were involved in a cure for a virus spread throughout the Klingon people that changed their appearance to be more human due to an attempt to create Klingon augments that were genetically enhanced, similar to Khan and his followers. But let me know in the comments, what races or storylines would you like to see on Strange New Worlds? That is all the news for this week. Thank you very much for joining me. If you love Star Trek, I have a bunch of fun videos like the top 10 villains and the best episodes of Deep Space Nine. So be sure to check those out and hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button as well, as it really does help me out, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?